The views and opinions of this broadcast do not reflect the views and opinions of Armed Media, New Productions, and its affiliates. Enjoy the show.
Hey guys, thanks for tuning in. This is Two Beards Talking with Daniel Sanders
and Matt Lassiter.
And as we always do at the start of every show, we want to give a big shout out to the troops out there. You guys are doing a good job. Keep up the good work. Come home safe. Everybody's rooting for you back home. So we're going to roll right into it. Our crybaby of the week. What was it you called her?
Nope, not saying it. Can't make me do it.
Oh man, you're no fun. So,
well, she's Brazilian, so it doesn't work anymore.
Yeah, that's true.
So it worked with the other one. Doesn't work with this one.
This one, this is kind of, I don't even know what to call this, but so a lady of Latino descent, we'll say.
They speak Portuguese, man.
Is currently being detained by ICE. And the whole thing that brought this on, she was on video assaulting a man in a Mexican restaurant wearing a Make America Great Again hat. According to the report, the guy was being assaulted by this woman as soon as he walked through the door. And she told authorities after the police were called that she didn't think it was right. He's wearing a MAGA hat in a Mexican restaurant.
Okay. If there were a top 10 list of stupid shit to say, that's going to be on there.
And then also a top 10 stupid list of things to do. She actually physically assaulted the guy in front of officers, according to the report.
They don't take kindly to that.
So as it turns out, this woman has been living in this country illegally for the last 25 years. Now, common sense would say if you know you're doing something that's illegal, you're going to do the best you can to try and fly under the radar.
I mean, literally, all she had to do was not fuck that up.
And she fucked that up.
I mean, you don't attack the man. If she wanted to open a dialogue with him and be like, "Excuse me, sir, I find your hat offensive," he might have removed his hat. Who knows?
But he might have. Me personally, I would have said, "I'm sorry you feel that way, and if my hat offends you, then you can kindly go fuck yourself."
Well, that's because you're an asshole.
Well, yeah, but whatever.
But I mean, maybe if she would have tried to open a dialogue with him, we could have got somewhere on that. But now, she gets to go back to Brazil.
Yes, so...
Well, more than likely.
More than likely, yeah. So, yeah, this...
This is the best one yet.
I don't know if I would call it the best one yet, but...
I'm thoroughly enjoying it.
It is. So, yeah, this one is for you. Oh, man, so...
That new sound clip.
It's better than the one that we had before, I think. So we're going to roll right into the show now. And she has made our list yet again. She's...
We need theme music for this woman.
We do.
We've got to do something. I don't know. I'll write something so we don't have to get copyright infringement. We got to write a theme song for this woman.
So, of course, we're talking about Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez. Now we kind of backed off on her because, Jussie Smollett was kicking his own ass, and of course we had to talk about that.
Yeah, she got lucky for a couple of weeks.
Yeah, but we've shifted the crosshairs and now we're back on target.
Luck doth run out.
So the first thing she has done is she basically fucked over her district in New York.
Not even her district.
Oh no, it wasn't her. I thought it was her district.
What? It wasn't even her district.
Well, either way, she has fucked over New York. Amazon was looking to open a second headquarters in New York, and yeah, now that's not happening, and it's cost the state of New York. I think it was 25,000 jobs.
25,000 jobs and like over $1 billion in tax revenue.
Yeah. So,
and that's not even the dumbest thing that came out of that story. She doesn't know how anything works. They were talking about Amazon was going to come in and they were going to take advantage of some tax breaks that were given by the city. These are tax breaks that any company could take advantage of, and basically, companies currently are taking advantage of. They weren't writing new tax breaks for Amazon. This was stuff that was already on the books,
right?
And it was gonna save them $350 million,
right,
in tax breaks. And this woman, who has apparently no idea how money works, was like, well, we could take that $350 million and invest it in subways, and we could invest that in our teachers. No, you can't, because it's a tax break. It's money you're not getting. She didn't understand that they weren't getting that money. I don't even, like, how are you that dumb? How do you not understand that the $350 million that you weren't getting, you can't use?
Yeah. So, yeah, that was fuck up number one for her, and that was that's already been in the news. Like I said, we've been more focused on other things. Jussie Smollett.
Here's looking at you, kid.
But yeah, she's. I guess because we've taken the focus off of her, she, maybe somebody sent a message to her. Hey, these guys aren't talking about you. Do as much as you can.
Step your game up.
Them are rookie numbers. We got to bump them numbers up.
Well, I'll say this week she went big.
She did.
She did not go home. She went big.
She did. So the next thing, and this one's a doozy. So they were having a closed door session. And she basically made the comment talking about moderates voting with Republicans on issues, that she was going to put them on a list.
Yeah, that's the worst thing about that is the fact that she could do it. A lot of your Democratic districts, if you win the primary, you're going to get the seat, because like in her district, they're not going to vote a Republican in. It's just not something that's going to happen. That district always goes blue, so all she had to do was win the primary. So she could literally find a way to screw these people over in their primaries, and they're losing their seats, all because they're willing to work across the aisle,
right?
Which is what is supposed to happen in government,
right? She has said and done a lot of things, especially recently, that it's really like, I would not be surprised. I certainly would not be surprised if she does not get reelected. I also would not be surprised if somebody removes her from her position before she's eligible for re-election.
Well, I mean, it all goes back to her threatening a private citizen with subpoena power.
Yeah. And, on the flip side of that coin, she's making comments like, we're the ones in charge. You do what we say.
I'm the boss.
Yeah.
You're shouting from the cheap seats.
Yes. We're in charge. You're just shouting from the cheap seats. She is becoming the epitome of... She's basically becoming the epitome of do as I say, not as I do.
No, she's just proving what we already all know about socialism. The moment any socialist gets a little bit of power, they go tyrannical.
Yeah. Well, what I mean by that, I've seen things in, like she's real big on the environment and, yeah.
No, she's not.
Well, supposed to be real big on the environment and everything, and we're not even going to get into this whole cow farts are bad for the environment thing that she's talking about.
I mean, technically, I guess they are, but
Well, so are her brain farts.
which are plentiful.
But she had posted something. I don't remember the exact quote, but she had posted something talking about how eating meat is bad for the environment. And then there's a picture of her scarfing down this big ass fucking burger.
Which, I mean, it could have been a veggie burger.
It could very well have been. Who knows?
I doubt it.
So,
yeah, it gets worse from here.
it really does. Now, the most recent thing about her is an FEC complaint has been filed, and you Matt were the one actually telling me about that. So I'll let you take that one over.
Okay, so the FEC is the Federal Election Committee. And they basically make sure that you're not doing things that you shouldn't be doing with your campaign funds.
Right.
She was dating a guy in Arizona, and I can't remember. I can't remember what his job was in Arizona, but she wanted him to move to New York with her. So somehow, a PAC was giving him like $6,000. And he moved from Arizona to New York to move in with her. And so there was a couple of Republican, I can't remember which part, where they came from, but they were like, you can't do that. You can't give money to your significant other just because you want them to move, especially if it comes out of your campaign funds. So they're now looking at her for fraud. And that's not gonna end well for her in that aspect. I don't know if you can be jailed for that, but can't hurt my help.
Well, I've got an article pulled up here right now, and this is on Fox News. Let's see here. No, I'm not seeing anything in here. Is it okay? So is this the guy that she supposedly?
I don't know. I've not seen any pictures of the guy that is her boyfriend. I just know that he received money and moved from his home in Arizona to New York.
Well, according to the FEC complaint, it was nearly $1 million.
Dear God, because the only thing I saw was $6,000 paid to him.
Yeah. Now that could have been, $6,000 to him, and this is the exact amount it's saying. Then systematically transferred more than $885,000. So that's probably broken up over a bunch of different things, but that's what the FEC complaint is asserting. So, yeah, she's like you said, she is going big.
I mean, if you're going to be a corrupt politician, then do it from the start.
Yeah.
Don't wait 20 years and let us figure it out. Just go ahead and let us know from the beginning.
Yeah, it is. So, oh man, I just can't with this woman.
I don't okay, people rip, and I mean, they give the Alabama public education system so much shit. But where did they're supposed to be smarter in New York.
They're supposed to be.
Or at least better criminals. Jesus.
Oh man, yeah. So we're definitely going to be keeping our eyes on this and following this as more information comes out for sure.
Well, she's got a D by her name. She'll never see jail time.
No, she probably won't. So now, with that having been said, I'm actually this is not a topic that we have, but I'm going to get on a soapbox here for a minute.
Oh, damn it!
So, I was having a discussion today with one of my former staff sergeants from my first unit, and I was shocked. I don't really know the word to describe what I felt, but I never in a million years in all the time that I served with him would have thought that he harbored these kind of feelings. And on his social media, he posts a lot of stuff about white privilege and how the system is rigged against people of color. So today he shared an article about Montgomery County granting a permit to the KKK to hold a rally, and how he felt, he shared his feelings on it, and it was that they are, his words, and I'm paraphrasing, they're a terrorist group. They should not be allowed to hold a rally. Now, I agree and I disagree. Yes, they are a terrorist group. But we have so many different types of groups like that in this country. We have the KKK, we have the Black Panthers, we have PETA, we have Black Lives Matter. Antifa. We have all of these different hate groups and groups that by definition could be labeled as terrorist groups.
What was that one that was chanting at the Covenant kids? The Black Hebrew something?
Black Israelites or something like that. Yeah, the
Black Israelites. They're horrendous.
Yes, they are. So, he's going on about how, they're a hate group, they represent hate, all these things, they should not be allowed to hold a rally. Now, I firmly believe in the saying, I may not agree with what you say, but I will defend until death your right to say it. I don't agree with what the KKK says. I don't agree with the Black Panther Party. I don't agree with PETA. I don't agree with Black Lives Matter. I don't agree with groups that would call for hate and intolerance and violence against a specific group of people, whether it's white people against blacks or blacks against police or idiots against protein eaters, whatever, meat eaters. It doesn't matter. If you promote hate and violence and intolerance, I'm never going to agree with what you say. But you are still protected under the First Amendment and your right to freedom of speech, and I will defend until death your right to voice your opinions.
I mean, okay, we come from the South,
right,
in Alabama, and there are Klan rallies, not as much now,
right,
but there's always been Klan rallies here. I've never been to one.
I've never been to one.
I would never go to it. If I went to one, it would literally be to troll them. I mean, that would be my only reason for being there, is just to be a dick.
And and I expressed my thoughts to him. I told him, I started off with, first and foremost, this man was a leader and a mentor to me. He was one of my staff NCOs. I highly respect this man, and this was the kind of leader that if he came to me and said, Sanders, pack your gear, we're about to invade hell. Roger that, Staff Sergeant, let's do it. No questions asked. But again, I never in a million years after serving with him would have thought he had these kind of feelings. And I know people feel that way. Even serving in the military, I know people feel that way. So, I told him, I was watching a video clip that Morgan Freeman did on 60 Minutes, I think it was. And the man interviewing him asked him, how do we handle racism? How do we combat racism? And Morgan Freeman's response was simple. Stop talking about it. You stop calling me a black man, and I'll stop calling you a white man. So I quoted that. And my staff sergeant's response to it was, we can't just not talk about it. Even if you don't talk about it, people are still going to be racist. I don't think that's what Morgan Freeman meant when he said that. Because I agree. People there are always going to be assholes out there, regardless. It's human nature. Someone is always going to be an asshole. But racism is a 100% learned trait. It is not genetic. It's not hereditary. It is 100% learned. I was not born with a genetic predisposition to hate somebody because of the color of their skin. Neither were you.
Nope.
It is a 100% learned trait. And I think what Morgan Freeman was trying to say is we need to cut out this teaching our following generations that we don't like these people because they're black. We don't like these people because they're Mexican. We don't like these people because they believe in Allah. If we treat people like human beings and stop looking at somebody based on the color of their skin, he kept saying something about, imagine what it was like being a person of color 100 years ago or even 50 years ago. And I agree with him. Yes, people of color in this country, whether they're black, Hispanic, Asian, doesn't matter. People of color in this country have several disadvantages. Yes, I think the justice system, to an extent, treats individuals of color differently than they do white people. But on the flip side of that coin, I also think that there are instances where white people are at a disadvantage. Case in point, equal opportunity.
It's hit or miss. I mean,
well, you've heard me tell the story about how I was denied a transfer to a store within the company closer to home because they wanted diversity in the workplace and they already had a white male working there.
Yeah, it's that new thing. I mean, when my uncle was interviewing for jobs, I can't remember which school it was, and even if I could remember, I wouldn't name the school.
Right.
When the principal was interviewing him, she said, "Well, Mr. Laster, how do you celebrate diversity?" And he was like, "What do you mean? How do I celebrate diversity?" He's like, "I've never been asked that question." He's like, "I treat all my students the same."
Right.
He's like, "I don't care who you are. I will treat you the same. You give me respect, I'll give you respect."
Right.
And that's the way it should be. And as far as the whole not talking about racism thing, I think you should talk about racism, but only when you're calling somebody out.
See, like I was saying, I think Morgan Freeman's thought process on stop talking about it is if we eliminate talking with future generations about it by saying, like I said, he's a black man, we don't trust him. He's Mexican, we don't trust him. He's Asian, he's really good at math. Things like that. Then eventually it's going to phase itself out over time.
Well, I don't think that racism will never die. As long as there is multiple races, there's going to be somebody that's going to hate you because of the way you look, but it won't be as prevalent.
Well, again, racism is not a hereditary genetic trait. It is 100% learned.
Oh, yeah, it is 100% learned, but you're going to have those diehard people that are never going to stop.
Right. Now, I will concede that to an extent. Yes. Yeah. There is, it started from somewhere, like overseas in the Middle East between the Sunnis and the Shiites. It started somewhere.
Well, see, that, and even that wasn't even racism. They hated each other because they followed different doctrines.
Right, and I'm just using that as an example.
Which goes to prove that it doesn't matter. Even if you're the same race, you're going to find a reason to hate somebody.
Right. And again, like I said in my post to him, hatred is always going to exist. Just plain and simple. Some people are just, to me, being an asshole is a genetic trait.
I was born with it.
Yeah. I was definitely born with it. Maybe even 2 chromosomes of it. Who knows? So, but yeah, that's my soapbox on that. That's my soapbox on that.
Well, that's good.
I had to get that out of my system because it's been bugging me for a while, and then that happened today, and yeah, I had to get it out of my system. So yeah, but moving on with the show.
Tangent.
Rabbit trail. Cohen.
Liar
McLiarson. Yes. Trump's former attorney. A pathological liar.
Well, I mean, he's an attorney, so.
Convicted of perjury before Congress.
testifies again in front of Congress.
Called upon by Congress to testify.
No, I know I lied to you before. Really telling the truth this time.
I guess the people in Congress never heard about the boy who cried wolf.
Well, okay, you're asking a bunch of liars to determine who's telling a lie.
Right.
I mean, come on. What was that old George Carlin skit? Like, why don't you put the 10 Commandments in the courthouse?
Yeah. Yeah. And
it creates a hostile work environment.
Yeah, so he testifies before Congress about all of these bad things that Trump is being accused of that supposedly he has knowledge of. You know, that Trump is a racist and Trump and I'm just spitballing here because I never had the opportunity to actually sit down and watch the testimony. I've just been reading about it here and there when I have the opportunity. But Trump is a racist and Trump rigged the election and all of these other things. That one was funny. I thought that was funny. I'm trying to remember her name. Debbie Wasserman Schultz.
You mean the woman that rigged the DNC?
Yes.
Okay. Her. Okay, gotcha.
Yes, the head of the DNC that rigged the primary so that way Hillary would win over Bernie.
Well, they would know something about rigging an election.
Asking a convicted perjurer before Congress about Trump supposedly rigging the election.
That's like saying, all right, so how did you get our playbook?
Yeah, so...
And why are you using it so well?
Right. And the biggest issue that I have with this, and I spoke with an attorney friend of mine that I know about this, is he has violated the attorney-client privilege by testifying before Congress about this. Because and this is what I asked him about because I wasn't sure about it, but he did clarify it for me that no body of Congress can order an attorney to break attorney-client privilege for any reason. There are only very few special circumstances where an attorney can violate that privilege, such as if a judge orders it as pertinent to a case, or say if you're my attorney and I'm your client and I tell you as soon as I leave your office I'm going to go kill somebody and you report it to the police. That is not a violation of attorney-client privilege. But Congress cannot order an attorney to violate attorney-client privilege. And this pathological liar and convicted perjurer before Congress has done exactly that.
Well, you know my stance on attorney-client privilege.
Yes, I know your stance on attorney-client privilege.
Well, I mean, it's a good thing for some things.
Yes.
Like if we're talking about the case and I'm like, hey, this is what happened, and like let's say that my alibi was I couldn't have done this crime because I was cheating on my wife.
Right.
Okay, yeah, I want you to keep that a fucking secret. I'm going to need you to hold your cards close to your chest on that one, buddy.
Right.
But if I tell you, no, I did it. I robbed that old lady. Your attorney should be able to be like, I can't defend this man because he's guilty.
I agree, but I disagree because as a defense attorney, it's your job. Even if the man is guilty and admits his guilt to you behind closed doors, it is still your job to give him a fair public trial.
I think once you admit to the crime, then you don't get due process anymore. What is there to due process? You admitted it. You said, yeah, I robbed a little old lady.
Yeah.
Okay, well, you're a piece of shit and you should be in jail.
Yeah. And, we had this discussion the other day. Think of the number of guys who admit guilt to take the fall and cover up somebody else's tracks. Or maybe they're just stupid and they're looking for 15 minutes of fame. Why you would want to do that, I don't know.
I guarantee you stop skipping the trial and start going straight to sentencing on a couple of these guys, they'll quit taking the fall.
Well, again, like I said, if you admit guilt, if you enter in a guilty plea, by that, essentially, the trial process is done and it moves straight into sentencing from here if the judge accepts your plea of guilt.
Exactly. And that's my thing. If you are a defendant and you're talking to your lawyer and most of them won't blatantly admit guilt. Even the guilty ones just won't blatantly admit guilt. But some of them are. Some of them do because they're like, well, guess what? It doesn't matter what I say to you because you can't say anything about what I say to you. So that there should be consequences.
Yes, I agree. And I agree and I disagree, and we'll agree to disagree. So another issue that I had was one of the representatives in the hearing, Mike Meadows, introduced a black lady who works for the Trump family. I think she's a HUD director, if I remember correctly. But to combat the allegations that Trump is a racist. So Mike Meadows brings this lady in, and she testifies that Trump is not a racist. She knows the family personally. She's worked with them for years, and that if he was a racist, she would not be working for him. And Rashida Tlaib, or however the fuck you say her name, one of our two newly elected Muslim Democrats, called Mike Meadows a racist for using this woman as a prop, quote unquote, and then went on to say, oh no, I wasn't actually calling him racist. I was just saying that the act in general was racist.
Oh, it got heated for a minute.
Oh yeah, the hearing pretty much came to a halt.
I thought Chairman was going to break his gavel.
Oh my God, yes. Mr. Cummings was
he was beating that gavel for everything it was worth.
I mean, you ever see somebody, like, you can tell when they're getting angry, like especially if they're banging something like a hammer or a gavel or something along those lines, and you see that grimace on their face. That, you could see that in his face. Like, he was, look, I am the chair. All of you motherfuckers shut up and let's fix this.
And correct me if I'm wrong. Are they not in the same party?
Cummings and
Tlaib.
Yeah. They are both Democrats.
So basically, you have a woman saying, "Hey, this guy's did something that's racist," and the Democrat had to defend the man. He was like, "That wasn't racist."
Yeah, I mean, and there were multiple times where he gave her the opportunity to rephrase her statement.
Yeah, he kept saying, "Do you want to clarify, or
would you like to rephrase? Would you like to clarify?" Yeah.
And she was like, "No, I'll read it again."
Yeah.
Don't read it again.
Yeah. So she did eventually wind up apologizing, saying, oh, well, I wasn't meaning to call him a racist, and if that was the impression that I gave, then I apologize. Yeah, that was the fucking impression that you gave, because that's what you fucking said.
When you say that they brought someone in as a prop, okay, first off, you have just stripped that person of their humanity.
Yes.
They're no longer a human, they're just an inanimate object that they just propped up in front of Congress to make Trump look better. But when this woman says, no, he's not a racist. If he were a racist, I would not be working for him. Then your racist claims no longer hold water. You cannot call a man a racist and then have someone of color that works for him go, no, I don't think so.
Yeah. And I can hear it now. There's a lot of people out there going, oh, well, maybe she was paid hush money, or maybe she was ordered to say this in testimony. And yeah, I really don't think that's the case.
It's too much about race. Just too fucking much. It's ridiculous.
We kind of had a segue.
Almost. So close. We're working on them, guys. We are working on them.
Oh,
we're kind of like Mitch Hedberg. It's all punchlines.
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah. So, but yeah, the whole hearing in and of itself was just, it was a waste of time, in my opinion.
Well, I don't understand. Why would you say, okay, let's bring the liar back so he can lie some more?
Right.
Like, okay. And then they kept asking the question, well, did Mr. Trump tell you to lie? And he's like, no, he didn't tell me to lie. Did that one on my own. And they're like, are you sure? that President Trump didn't tell you to lie? He's like, I'm pretty fucking sure.
Yeah, the whole, like I said, the whole thing was just, it was a complete waste of time. And, the fact that they were even limiting what questions could be, you can't ask questions. They were telling the House members, you can't ask questions on this topic. You can't ask questions on this topic.
I would like to point out we're all paying for this.
Right. And I understand the need a little bit to limit some of the questions because you don't want somebody getting off topic.
You got to limit the scope.
Yeah.
You got to be like, look, this is what we're talking about. You can't ask this question because it doesn't pertain to the case.
Right.
But if it pertains to the case, it should be fair game.
Right. So I think if anybody had any questions of Cohen that related to Trump at all, I think they should have been allowed to ask. But it was my understanding they were told, you can't ask about, you can't ask anything about Russian collusion or anything along those lines. But that's what it was about. Yeah. Yeah.
You can't ask about this, but that's what the hearing is about.
Right. And that was the thing. That was another topic that was brought up there. Supposedly they had copies of 2 checks that were hush money payments to women that Trump supposedly slept with. Of course, the checks, and they could have very well been hush money. We don't know because the memo block doesn't say this is to shut this bitch up. All they are is just personal expense checks. Which, I mean, I can take any check and say, yeah, this is what this check was for. You don't know because you weren't there when I wrote it and you don't know what the funds were really being dispensed for, but I can tell you that's what they were for.
Anything just to go after him.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter. If he ties his shoe the wrong way, he didn't do it right.
Yeah. I kind of would like to see, I kind of would like to see Trump come out and say he's in favor of air just to see how many people try and stop breathing.
Dude, if Trump cured cancer, there would be people bitching about,
cancer patients have rights.
What if I wanted cancer? Really? You fucking idiots.
Oh, man. Yeah, that's... Oh, man. It's just...
Our government is a shit show.
It really is. So, we're going to move on.
I like this last topic.
This is a very good topic. And this is really an opinionated topic. We both have our opinions on this. And once you hear the topic, I'm sure you're going to know what our opinions are.
Because we're assholes.
I don't even really see it as an asshole position.
Yeah, but everybody else does.
I think it's, feminists might, but I think it's a legitimate position in our case. So the topic is women being required to register for the draft. I saw an article on it a few days ago, and we even did a poll on our Facebook page about it, and I actually expected the numbers to be a little bit more split down the middle. It was, I want to say it was 68% of the people who responded were in favor of the idea.
Makes sense to me.
Yeah, 68 to 32, I believe was the number. So, and I'm in favor of the idea. I mean, women have been demanding equal rights, so on and so forth. Well, guess what, Buttercup? You want equal rights? That's part of it.
I mean, you can't be any more equal than that.
Yeah. Now, the whole thing stemmed from, before it was men only had to register for the draft because women were not allowed to serve in combat. And it's since come up. It was actually a judge in Texas ruled the draft was now unconstitutional because now the military is open and women are allowed to serve in combat roles. And that was the judge's position on it, making it unconstitutional because women are still not required to register for the draft. My personal opinion on it is there's more to fighting a war than just the ground pounders on the front lines. You've got administrative positions. You've got logistical support positions. There's so many other positions that even before women could serve in combat roles, women were filling in the military.
What was B. Arthur's job in the military?
B. Arthur was I know she was a truck driver.
Didn't she do supplies?
Mm-hmm. I believe so.
That is a very good job that needs to be done.
Right. So, yeah, I have, me personally, I'm of the opinion that they should do away with the draft and do a mandatory 2-year service requirement for everybody of able body and mind once they graduate from high school.
I mean, I'm cool with it. I dodged that bullet. But, I mean, there are so many people. Like, the reason I would be okay with the mandatory you serve 2 years is because there are so many people that talk so much shit about the military because they don't understand what it is.
Oh, yeah. My favorite ones that I love listening to were, I couldn't be in the military because if a drill instructor got in my face, I'd knock him out. Yeah, okay, buddy.
Yeah, you'd get about half a swing.
I don't even think you'd get that much. I think all you'd have to do is blink.
Did you breathe on me? Well, I'm going to have to murder you now.
Yeah, pretty much. But yeah, that was the thing about it. And like I said, I expected the poll that we did to be more closer to 50-50, but it wasn't. And I was really surprised that it was that many in favor.
Well, my thing about it is you cannot ask for equal. You cannot ask for the good shit and be like, but we don't want the bad shit.
Right.
Like we want to be equal in vote. We want to be equal in pay. We want to be equal in standing in the society, but we don't want to fight your wars.
Right.
No, I'm sorry, sweetheart. You're gonna have to sack up here.
Yeah,
for lack of a better term.
And don't get me wrong, I knew several women when I was serving in the military who could freaking run and gun better than some of the guys that I knew and served with in the infantry. There are some badass females in the military.
I actually watched a video the other day. It was a woman from BuzzFeed and a CrossFitter and a parkour guy. They took them all out to Parris Island, and they treated them just like recruits for a week. You know, they were up running and doing push-ups and doing the obstacle courses and all that shit. And the guys were like, oh my God, like, I can't believe they treat the females exactly like they do the males. And the guys couldn't believe it.
Yeah.
And I'm like, well, that's how you build that's how you build an effective person in the military.
Right.
You don't see gender, you just go, hey, this is a person that might have to be in combat. Whether they have a combat role or not, they need to know how to do this.
Right. And, you know, the best example that I can give, I was still on active duty when the first talks came up of allowing women to serve in combat roles. And I knew this young Marine had an awesome fucking attitude. She had one of the greatest attitudes I've ever seen for the most part. I got to emphasize that. And she was of the opinion that women should be allowed to do the things that men get to do in the military, but they shouldn't have to do all the things that men get to do in the military. You know, she was, you know, first and foremost, the obstacle course at 4th Battalion at Parris Island, which is where all female Marines train, the obstacles are shorter than the men's obstacle course. Naturally so, because women are naturally shorter in most cases in stature. But, you know, she didn't agree with, you know, oh yeah, well, women shouldn't have to do pull-ups. We should get to do our flexed arm hang. Well, no, that's not how this shit works. So I gave the example of, okay, and I called one of my other buddies over, had him lie down on the ground, and I said, okay, here's the situation. We just got ambushed on a patrol, and I'm still able to fight. I just took shrapnel in my leg. I'm still able to fight, but he is the worst wounded. You are uninjured, and he needs to get out of the freaking fire zone and into cover quick. I can't drag him because I've got shrapnel in my leg, but I can still provide cover fire. I said, you need to get him into cover. Now she was like 5'3", 5'4", maybe weighed 120 pounds soaking wet. My buddy, on the other hand, was like 6'4", 280 pounds, a friggin' mountain that I just laid down on the ground. And she just looked at him and she says, well, I can't pick him up. And I immediately looked at her and I didn't say 2 words about picking him up. And I just grabbed him by the collar of his shirt and I started dragging him.
Gotta work smart, not hard.
Exactly. So, now again, don't get me wrong. Like I said, I've met several women in the military who could run and gun in the infantry or any other combat role. But there are still those in there that have the thought process of, we get to have our cake and eat it too. No, you fucking don't. First and foremost, you can't have cake. Cake turns you into a fat body.
Fatty cake. I'm all for women in the draft. I think it's the way it always should have been, whether they're serving in combat roles or not. If we're in a conflict or a war that's bad enough that we need to draft, then we should draft everyone across the board.
I agree. Again, also though, I also am for the mandatory 2-year service for everybody of able body and mind.
And on that note, I'm also against, like, they have that rule where if you don't have a successor to your bloodline, you don't have to serve.
That's
I don't. If a dude wants to, it should be, or even it's a guy thing. If a guy wants to, he should be able to.
Yeah, and they don't really enforce that much anymore. I mean, I knew several guys that were they were an only child.
They literally made a movie about it.
Yeah. And that's how it was back during World War II, and even going up into Korea and part of Vietnam. But yeah, for the most part now, they don't really enforce all of that.
But I mean, I
think it's mostly because we're a bunch of freaking wild ass creatures, and we'll almost fuck anything that moves.
You've probably got a child out there somewhere you don't know about, so we're gonna take you anyways.
Yeah, that's generally what I tell people when they ask me if I have. Yeah, hey, do you have any kids? Not that I know of.
I'll find out when they're 18.
As long as they wait that long.
You hope they wait that long.
Right.
Good God. Child support is expensive.
Yeah, that's...
Welcome to my nightmare.
So, but, yeah, I mean, that's... I agree. Women should be required to register for the draft. And we want to hear y'all's opinion on that, Go on our Facebook page and let us know what y'all think about it.
Yeah. Please do.
I really would like to hear some of y'all's opinion on that, for sure.
I mean, I am one for good conversation. I am one for debating. And if you have a legitimate grievance with it, I want to know what it is.
Right.
Because I want to see if I can debate it logically, not emotionally, because you don't get anything done when you're being emotional.
No, absolutely not.
So if I'm going to debate you, I'm going to come from a place of logic. And if you have a grievance with it, I would like to hear what your grievance is, because I'd like to be able to change your mind about it. Because what's that old Southern saying? What's good for the goose is good for the gander?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yay, Southern idioms.
Oh, man. Yeah, that's... I just don't know what the fuck is going on. I mean, and I didn't really have an opportunity to talk at length with anybody about it, but there were some people who said no, women shouldn't be required to serve to register for the draft. And Yeah, I'd kind of like to get their thought process as to why they shouldn't.
Well, I'm going to go ahead and say that, and I'm probably putting words in their mouth, but most people think that women are the naturally better caregivers, so they should be at home with the children.
Yeah, that was that, and like I said, I didn't have any real time to discuss it at length with anybody, but that was one person's response. You know, a woman's place is in the home. And, okay, so then you're against feminism. You're against women's lib and all that other stuff.
Well, but even then, in this day and age, several judges have ruled that men are just as capable of taking care of the children as women are.
Absolutely.
So if we're just as capable of taking care of children as women are, then women are just as capable of going and fighting for their country as men are.
Absolutely. I agree.
I mean, because there are several reasons, even in a draft, that you could be turned down for service.
Yeah.
I mean, let's say you have even a heart murmur will do it.
Yeah.
So let's say your husband has a heart murmur, he can't serve.
Yeah. I know a young girl in this area that she was going to enlist and was subsequently discharged after it was found out that she had I think some sort of blood thinner issue or something.
I mean, our buddy Kurt, he got med dropped for a cyst.
Yeah.
And had to have surgery before he could re-enlist.
Yeah.
I mean, that was like the middle of basics. He was like halfway through Army basic training when they found out that he had those cysts, and they med dropped him.
Yeah. And, you know, I saw a lot of that all the time when I was at Parris Island. Kids who wanted to be there. Young men who wanted to be there, who wanted to train, who wanted to become Marines, and, you know, shit just happened.
I mean, there was the statistics from World War II of men that committed suicide because they were getting told they couldn't serve. Because they were volunteering. They weren't being drafted. They were going to the draft board and saying, hey, no, we want to go. And they went through their physical, and they're like, nope, 4-H unfit. And some of these men would commit suicide because they wanted to serve their country so badly.
Right. Yeah, that just
So I mean, if you have a man that's unfit, that's medically unfit like that, then I mean he needs to be able to do something.
Right.
So I mean, if he can stay home and take care of the homestead while, you know, his wife does what he wanted to do, he at least feels like he's a part of it at that point.
Yeah. So we're running short on time, so I'm going to take these last few minutes here, and I'm going to plug our Facebook page again.
I thought you were going to get another soapbox.
No soapbox again.
Oh, I can put that up.
Yeah.
Back in the closet for you, soapbox.
Yeah, our Facebook page, Two Beards Talking. You know, let us know your opinions. Go on there, like us, follow us, interact with us, and
I'm at the point of begging.
Does it sound like we're a little desperate?
Please talk to us.
We're so lonely.
I get tired of hearing my own voice.
Yeah, just like us, follow us, interact with us. Even if you don't like us, still interact with us. Tell us we're assholes.
Especially if you don't like us.
Yes, absolutely. At least let us know. At least let us know.
And then come up with a reason why you don't like us.
Yeah, otherwise you're just a 2-year-old throwing a tantrum.
Yeah, I mean, have a legitimate reason, like, oh, you cuss too much. Well, fuck you.
Yeah.
That's all I got to say about that.
Develop thicker skin.
It's never been an issue for me. I can honestly say I've never been offended. I can honestly say that.
I'm trying to. I know for a fact something that I've been offended about. I just can't think of.
Well, that assault rifle card pissed you off pretty bad.
Oh my god! Yes, that. Oh man, yeah. I will tell you all about that real quick. So I just recently picked up Cards Against Humanity. Been looking for it for years, and finally found it in a Books a Million. So I said, yeah, I'm going to get it. And a card was played. And this is literally all the cards said. AR-15 assault rifle.
He ripped it up.
I did.
Into like a million pieces.
I did. That pissed me. Because the AR-15, first and foremost, and I'm not going to get too into depth in this because this is, a topic we've already covered and we can still cover.
And we only got 3 minutes left.
That too. AR-15 is not an assault rifle. Assault rifle is not a legitimate term. An assault is either a verb or a noun. It is not an adjective. It cannot be used to describe a thing.
Yeah, when I saw when I read that, I was like, it's not going to end well. There's something bad's going to happen. He's going to burn this freaking house down.
So I did. I tore the shit out of that damn card. I said, we are getting rid of that card.
like everybody else at the table except for me was like, hey, what are you doing? I'm like, you stand. It's a very hot button issue with him.
It really is. Well, it is with you too.
I just find it funny. I mean, I laugh at it. Like when people are like, oh, it's an assault rifle. I'm like, that's not.
It's not.
I mean, you tried.
So, but yeah, again, go on Facebook, like us, follow us, interact with us.
Hell, if Twitter's more your style, go to Twitter.
Yeah, Twitter too. We do have a Twitter. I think we only have one follower on there.
I'll set up an Instagram.
Hey,
I don't care.
There you go.
Come say what's up.
Yeah. That's a thing. We're gonna set up an Instagram too. So. Oh man, it's been fun. It's been a fun show.
I enjoy these shows,
and I'm glad I was able to get on my soapbox there for a little bit too.
Maybe one day I'll have a soapbox to hop on.
There you go. So
I'll look for one.
Again, go on Facebook, go on Twitter, look us up. Two Beards Talking. Like us, follow us. This has been a fun show. I enjoyed it.
I did as well.
So thanks for tuning in. Again, big shout out to the troops out there. You guys are doing a good job. Come home safe. This has been Two Beards Talking with Daniel Sanders
and Matt Lassiter.
Thanks for listening, guys.